Hi everyone. In this particular tutorial, we will be trying to understand how you can choose the best optimal threshold for a classification problem. So, if you don't know any metric that you calculate, be it accuracy, precision, recall in your classification problem using scikit-learn, the default threshold that is getting used is zero point 0.5. By threshold, I mean that any probability greater than zero point 0.5 is taken as 1 and anything less than zero point 0.5 is taken as 0. In case of classification, I'm talking about. Now, in some of the cases, like for example, in case of imbalanced classification, this might not hold true because one of the class is minority, so the threshold has to be lower down. So, how to find which is the optimal threshold for the problem? We will be trying to figure out using the Youden's J statistic. So basically, in my previous video, I've already explained what is AUC-ROC curve, and using the AUC-ROC values, we would be trying to figure out the optimal value for a classification problem, the threshold that has to be used. So basically, talking about Youden's J statistic, it is the point in the ROC curve where the difference between true positive rate and the false positive rate is the highest in the plot. So if you have forgotten about AUC ROC curve, so here you can see that we plot the true positive rate on the y-axis and the false positive rate on the x-axis. Now eventually I've already explained it, so I'm not jumping onto it. But here you can see that at whichever point the difference between TPR minus FPR is the highest, that is the most optimal point that should be considered for the threshold, where TPR is the proportion of actual positives correctly identified by the model, and false positive rate FPR is the actual negatives incorrectly identified as positives. For detailed discussion, you can check out my previous post on AUC-ROC curve. So the point where this difference is maximum is called as a Youden's J statistic, and that particular point should be used as a optimal threshold for classification. So here you can see that in Python you can calculate Youden's J statistics like this. If you have the ground truth and the probability scores, you need to plot the ROC curve, get the FPR TPR ratings, and eventually you need to calculate Youden's J statistic, that is the TPR minus FPR value for all the thresholds. And for whichever threshold the value is highest, that particular threshold will be chosen as the classification threshold. Thank you.